Hello everyone, welcome again to the adventures of Farmer Jack. Today's video is a very special video. It's a video where I go and see if I can experience and feel a real ghost story. Now, as far as haunted houses go, it's always a story about someone that have died. Many years later, no one is getting to rest, and those are the way the stories normally go. But when it is a story that span hundreds of years, with many souls that have been lost through the years, close to a specific point, then nothing springs to mind more than a lighthouse. Now, for starters, lighthouses would have never been erected where they are standing today if it wasn't for the fact that many souls have lost their lives close to the point where the lighthouse stands today to warn them of imminent danger. Now, today's story is a story about a lighthouse. Yes, it's about all the souls that have been lost there through the years, but specifically at this lighthouse, it's the story about two lighthouse keepers on the same day that have lost their lives at this specific lighthouse, and the eyewitnesses that can vouch for the fact that it seems like they have never settled down and decided to rest. So the lighthouse in question today is a lighthouse close to the closest city where I stay, the city of Port Elizabeth in South Africa. The lighthouse is called Cape Recife. It is a lighthouse that had its light lit the first time in 1851 after many years worth of squabbling to get it built. And it's a lighthouse where you can actually today go and walk through, go on a little tour, and everything is explained to you. So in today's video, I will be going over the history, ships that have been wrecked close to this lighthouse, souls that have been lost, and then specifically the story about two lighthouse keepers which fell to death at this specific lighthouse, and what information there is that I could find about these two lighthouse keepers. And then what I will do, I will then go and visit this lighthouse to see what it's like today, to see if I can still feel anything from these lighthouse keepers. So yes, I hope you enjoy this video. Sit back and enjoy it. I hope you find it entertaining. Please give me a comment. Please give me a like. If you like it, if you don't like it. So this is a historical walk back. Please enjoy the video. And thank you for watching the adventures of Farmer Jack. Now, historically, the need for the creation of lighthouses across the globe was the fact that tragedy have forced us into their creation. Many souls must have been lost at or close by where these lighthouses stand today. This has forced communities to erect these lighthouses as warnings of imminent danger. Many of these souls that lost their lives tragically while traveling long distances by sea to a new life of hope. A hope that in many cases have ended in disaster. Lighthouses, especially the older ones, are often associated with ghost stories. possibly due to their history of isolation, the harsh conditions, and tragic events, leading to tales of keepers or others who have perished there. The isolation of lighthouse keepers, combined with the harsh and often monotonous nature of their work, could lead to mental health issues and even suicide, contributing to the stories of haunted lighthouses. And the lighthouse at Cape Recife in the Eastern Cape of South Africa is no different. Close to where the lighthouse stands today, ships like the Santissimo Sacramento ran aground on its maiden voyage as early as 1647. Then there was the Hope in 1840, the Sabina 1842, HMS Thunderbolt 1847, Lady Lee in 1848, the Cuba 1853, the Fidela 1873, up into the Capatestrios in 1985, to name only a few. Most of these, each had a tale of tragedy. So many ships have met their end on these unforgiving rocks. Many times its crew swallowed by the churning waters. Every fragment of wreckage, every barnacle encrusted timber, many whispers of lost souls, their restless spirits forever bound to this haunted coast. In the final breaths of so many lives, these souls all tried to reach the coast and safety. Imagine the cries of the doomed, the splintering of the wood, the icy grip of the ocean claiming its victims. The names of those lost are often forgotten, swallowed by the waves, but their spirits, they linger. The sea holds their secrets, their sorrows, their final desperate breaths. For centuries, this stretch of coastline has been a graveyard of ships, a place where the sea claims its due with cruel indifference. The treacherous Thunderbolt Reef, named after the ill-fated HMS Thunderbolt, a stark reminder of the sea's unforgiving nature. Before the light pierced the darkness from 1851, vessels were drawn to their doom, their hulls ripped apart by the hidden fangs of this reef. Then in 1851 came the lighthouse, a promise of safety, a guiding light to ward off the darkness. But even its steadfast beam could not erase the echoes of the past. The very steps of this tower are steeped in the stories of those who kept watch, those who witnessed the wrath of the sea. The isolation of the lighthouse keepers, The monotonous nature of their work, the sound of the night, the fog and the mist led to the death of two of its lighthouse keepers and a truly haunted lighthouse. The sea is a jealous mistress and fate a cruel companion. In the early 1970s, tragedy struck. Benny Jordan and Bob Murray fell to their deaths, their lives extinguished in a sudden, devastating incident. The precise details, shrouded in time and grief, hint at a fall, a sudden, irreversible descent. These two men who dedicated their lives to this lonely vigil, long-serving keepers, their lives intertwined with the rhythm of the waves and the sweep of the light. They knew the sea's moods, its beauty, and its terrible power. Would they eventually join the souls wandering this treacherous coast? Or are they forever stuck at this lighthouse? Japie Greef told the story of his own personal experience while stationed at Cape Recife Lighthouse from 1986 to 1990 as a lighthouse keeper. One night during his night shift, and after his hourly inspection had been completed around the buildings, he went back to his office and sat down in his chair to relax when he was startled by a loud bang. He got up to investigate the origin of the noise and noticed the galvanized dustbin lid lying across the other side of the building. The dustbin itself was dancing from side to side, as if someone was trying to tip it over. He stood there in absolute disbelief. There was no explanation to account for this strange occurrence. Suddenly, he was struck by the thought of those two lighthouse keepers who had died at Cape Recife, having fallen to their death. Could it be those two keepers still squabbling? He called their names out loud and said to them to leave him alone, and that he was there to do his job as a lighthouse keeper, and that he had no part in their difference of opinion. He told them that should they wish to continue their quarrel, to go somewhere else. After that, everything was quiet for the rest of the shift. The next day, he told his colleague about the night's disturbances, and his colleague just smiled and said that he would often go out and tell those two to shut up. Japie soon became familiar with his ghost business, and those two could not settle down with each other. He often wondered why those two were still in a state of quarrelsome disagreement. And this is the background of my visit to the lighthouse at Cape Recife. As I drive into Pine Lodge to buy a day's ticket to enter the nature conservation area of Cape Recife, I'm starting to wonder about the lighthouse. I started to follow the road next to the coast past the penguin sanctuary. As the road split, you can turn to the right to where another shipwreck is lying. But if you continue straight down the coast, you are heading straight towards the lighthouse. Eventually, the lighthouse started to reveal its presence. And then, there it was. I am starting to think about all the souls that have lost its lives close to this point through the years. Next to the lighthouse is the homestead where the lighthouse keepers used to stay through the years. The employees at the lighthouse were very knowledgeable and they explained to us how the lighthouse started with a steam generator and then in 1890 it moved over to its first diesel generator, and today the lighthouse is run by a very small generator. My interest, however, was to ask about the two lighthouse keepers. It was sad to hear that the foghorn for this lighthouse haven't worked for 12 years, simply because it haven't been repaired for the last 12 years. Some relics of the lighthouse of days gone by can still be seen, and the employees can show you around those. How is that for a lighthouse bulb? Never thought it would have been so small. I can imagine how the lighthouse keepers have meticulously maintained the equipment through the years. Then we started on the 102 steps up the lighthouse of Cape Recife. I was amazed by how the steps have been worn through the years. The employees told me that they know about the death of the two lighthouse keepers. It was not sure whether the argument was about a woman or about a dog, but they know about the story about the two lighthouse keepers that lost their lives at this lighthouse. The history of the lighthouse and the harshness of the condition and what the lighthouse keepers had to go through is posted all over the lighthouse. Now, when you see the lamps that light up the night sky, you can immediately understand the importance of a lighthouse. But it is when I walked around the balcony of the lighthouse, sitting 24 plus meters above, I can imagine the tragic events that occurred underneath me in the early 1970s. Looking at the sea, I can imagine all the souls that have lost their lives. Was that the wind or the wandering souls of the people that have passed? As I leave this lighthouse, I can't stop to think about whether the souls that stay behind at this lighthouse will ever get to rest. This will not be only the story of this lighthouse, but also for many lighthouses around the globe. To the wandering souls that have lost their lives, your sacrifices have not been in vain. Because of your sacrifices, we can live today. You will always be in our memories.